The massive space station floating above Earth buzzed with quiet electronic sounds as Dr. Ji-won Park worked alone in the monitoring room. It was past midnight, and most of the crew had gone to sleep. She liked the night shift because it was peaceful, with just her and the endless sounds from deep space. Ji-won adjusted the big dish antennas that pointed toward distant stars. These machines could hear radio signals from incredibly far away, listening for anything unusual in the vast emptiness of space. Tonight felt different somehow, but she could not explain why. Down the hall, Dr. Min-ho Kim sat at another computer, studying the normal background noise that came from stars and planets. He had been doing this job for 5 years and knew what space was supposed to sound like. That's why he noticed immediately when something changed. The computer screen started flashing with bright colors. Numbers scrolled across the displays, faster than any human could read. The radio equipment made sounds it had never made before, like it was trying to scream. "Ji-won, come here right now," Min-ho called out, his voice shaking with excitement. "This is not normal space noise." Ji-won rushed over to his station and stared at the data flowing across the screens. Her heart started beating faster. In all her years of listening to space, she had never seen anything like this. "What are we looking at?" she whispered. Min-ho pointed at the patterns on his screen. "These are not random signals. Look at this part here. These are mathematical equations, really complex ones. And over here, these look like maps of star systems." They worked together for hours, trying to understand what they were seeing. The signal was incredibly sophisticated, more advanced than anything humans had ever created. But slowly, piece by piece, they began to decode parts of it. Commander Hyun-soo Lee arrived at the station early that morning to find his 2 scientists still working, surrounded by empty coffee cups and pages of handwritten notes. "Have you, too, been here all night?" he asked. "Commander, you need to see this," Ji-won said without looking up from her computer. "We have intercepted something incredible." Hyun-soo looked at their work and felt his stomach drop. He was a military man who had seen many strange things in space, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. The signal contained star charts showing the location of a solar system far from Earth. There were detailed biological scans of crystal-like creatures that seemed to be made of living rock. Most importantly, there were clear mathematical symbols that meant one thing in any language: "Help us." "It's a distress call," Ji-won said quietly. "But look at the trajectory data. This signal was not sent to Earth. It was aimed at coordinates, near the star Vega." Min-ho had been working on the timestamp information. According to this, the message was sent over 200 years ago. It has been traveling through space all this time. As they decoded more of the message, a tragic story emerged. The beings who sent it called themselves the Kethara. They lived on a planet in a distant solar system, but their star was dying. It was expanding and getting hotter, slowly cooking their world. The Kethara had sent their message to something they called the Galactic Coordination Council, begging for help to evacuate their 50 million people. They had shared detailed information about their biology and technology, hoping someone would come to save them. "How long do they have?" Hyun-soo asked. Min-ho checked his calculations about their star. "Based on the stellar data in the message, and our own observations, maybe 50 years before their planet becomes completely uninhabitable." The 3 scientists sat in silence, thinking about what they had discovered. Somewhere in the galaxy, 50 million intelligent beings were slowly dying, and their cry for help had been traveling through empty space for 2 centuries. "The message was not meant for us," Ji-won said. "It was supposed to reach this galactic council near Vega. But what if no one received it? What if no one is coming to help them?" Word of the discovery spread quickly through Earth's scientific community. Within days, every major university and space agency knew about the Kethara distress call. News reporters called it the most important discovery in human history. But knowing about the signal created a difficult problem. Earth's technology was advanced enough to understand the message, but barely advanced enough to travel to distant stars. The Kethara system was incredibly far away, much further than humans had ever traveled. At conferences and meetings around the world, the same question was asked again and again. What should humanity do with a cry for help that was never meant for them? Some people said it was not Earth's problem. The message was sent to someone else, and humans should not get involved in alien affairs. Others argued that any intelligent species had a duty to help other intelligent species in danger. The debate grew more intense as scientists calculated how difficult a rescue mission would be. It would require almost all of Earth's resources and take many years to complete. Many people would have to risk their lives traveling to a distant, dangerous star system. But as the arguments continued, one fact remained clear. Somewhere in space, people were dying, and their message asking for help had reached Earth by accident. The question was whether humanity would choose to answer a call that was never meant for them. 6 months had passed since the discovery of the alien distress call, and the great assembly hall on Earth was packed with people from every nation. Representatives, scientists, military officers, and journalists filled every seat as they prepared to make the most important decision in human history. Ambassador Su Jin-yoon walked slowly to the speaking platform in the center of the room. She carried a thick folder containing plans that could change everything for humanity. The room fell silent as she began to speak. "Fellow humans," she said, her voice carrying across the huge chamber. "We stand at a crossroads. 6 months ago, we received a message from dying people who need our help. Today we must decide if we will answer their call." She opened her folder and displayed holographic images of massive spaceships. "We have the technology to reach them. The generation ships we built for the Proxima Centauri colony mission can be changed and upgraded. These ships can carry us to the Cathara system." Dr. Tae Young-han, Earth's most respected physicist, stood up from the science section. He was known for being very careful with his words, so when he spoke, everyone listened. "The mathematics are clear," he said. "Our fusion engines can make this journey in 15 years. The ships are strong enough and we have enough fuel, but we must ask ourselves, should we risk everything we have built for people we have never met?" The room erupted in discussion as people debated this question. Some shouted that it was too dangerous. Others argued that humanity had a duty to help. Commander Jae-min Cho, a decorated space pilot, stepped forward. He had been chosen to lead the mission if it was approved. His uniform was covered with medals from previous space missions, and his calm presence made people listen. "I have run every computer simulation possible," he announced. "This mission is difficult and dangerous, but it can be done." The Cathara included detailed information about their biology and technology in their distress call. "We can modify our ships to transport beings made of living crystal." For weeks, the debate continued in assembly halls, on television shows, and in homes around the world. Earth was already facing many problems. The planet was still recovering from climate change, and the new colonies on Mars needed constant support and supplies. Many people argued that humanity should focus on its own problems first. "We have homeless people on Earth," said one representative. "We have cities still rebuilding from the great storms. Why should we spend our money and risk our lives for aliens?" But others disagreed strongly. "This is exactly why we should help," argued another representative. "Because we know what it feels like to face disaster and need help from others." The debate seemed endless until something unexpected happened. The government announced that they were opening volunteer registration for the mission just to see how many people might be interested in going. What happened next surprised everyone. Within the first day, over 500,000 people had signed up to volunteer for the mission. By the second day, the number had grown to 1.2 million. By the end of the third day, over 2 million people had volunteered to risk their lives for strangers they had never met. The volunteers came from every part of society. Engineers like Seung-min Park offered to completely redesign the ship systems to make them better for the long journey. Dr. Young-hee Lim, a famous biologist, volunteered to spend years studying how to keep crystal-based life forms alive in human spaceships. Even more touching were the letters that arrived from children around the world. A 10-year-old girl from Brazil sent a drawing of humans and crystal aliens holding hands. A boy from Japan wrote, "Please save the crystal people. They must be very scared." Teachers, doctors, farmers, and factory workers all signed up. Many of them knew they might never return to Earth, but they wanted to help anyway. Families volunteered to go together, saying they would rather face danger together than live safely while others died. The massive response from volunteers changed the entire debate. Representatives who had been against the mission began to reconsider. "If so many of our people are willing to risk everything," said one former opponent, "maybe we should listen to what their hearts are telling us." Ambassador Su Jin-yun returned to the speaking platform for the final vote. The Great Hall was even more crowded than before, with people standing in every available space. "6 months ago, we received a message that was not meant for us," she said. "The Cathara sent their cry for help to someone else, hoping someone would care enough to save them. That message traveled through space for 200 years and reached us by accident." She paused and looked around the room at all the faces watching her. "This is what makes us human," she continued. "When someone calls for help, we answer. It does not matter if we know them. It does not matter if the call was meant for us. It does not matter if it is dangerous or expensive or difficult. When people need help, humans help." The vote was called. Representatives from every nation pressed buttons on their desks, casting their votes electronically. The results appeared on the great screen above the platform. 847 votes in favor, 23 votes against. The room exploded in cheers and applause. People hugged each other and cried with joy. In that moment, humanity had made a choice that would define them forever. Project Samaritan was officially born, and preparation for the impossible rescue mission began immediately. 7 years had passed since the human fleet left Earth, and they were now deep in the empty space between stars. Admiral Jaemin Cho stood on the command bridge of the flagship Indomitable Hope, looking out at the darkness that surrounded them. Through the windows he could see the lights of the other 12 ships in their rescue fleet, spread out like tiny stars in the blackness. The journey had been long and difficult. Many of the crew members had never imagined they would spend so many years traveling through empty space, far from home and family. But their mission kept them going, knowing that somewhere ahead of them, 50 million crystal beings were waiting for help. Admiral Cho was reading daily reports from all the ships when Communications Officer Yoonji Song called out from her station. "Admiral, we are getting a message from a ship that is not one of ours," she said, her voice filled with surprise. "The signal is very strong, and it is close to us." "Put it on the main screen," Admiral Cho ordered. The large holographic display in the center of the bridge flickered and came to life. The image showed a creature unlike anything the humans had ever seen. It was tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to be made of flowing water. Its body was translucent, and lights moved through it like gentle currents. "I am Ambassador Veltar of the Hegemony Coalition," the being said in perfect English, though its voice sounded like wind chimes. "Your mission is very unusual. We have been watching you." Dr. Dong-hyun Park, the fleet's expert on alien life, stepped forward. He had spent years studying the Cathara biology from their distress call, but he had never expected to meet other aliens during the journey. "We are honored that you contacted us, Ambassador," Dr. Park said politely. "We are on a mission to help the Cathara people." The alien ambassador's expression was hard to read, but something in its manner seemed cold. "You do not understand why we are here. We are not here to honor you or congratulate you. We are here because we cannot understand you." The bridge crew looked at each other with confusion. Admiral Cho stepped forward. "What do you mean?" Ambassador Veltar moved closer to the screen, its flowing form creating beautiful patterns. No logical species would risk everything for unknown aliens. The Cathara distress call was heard by 17 different civilizations across the galaxy. Every single one of us came to the same conclusion. Helping them would cost too much and give us nothing in return. Engineer Boram Shin, who was working on ship repairs nearby, could not help but speak up. "So you all just ignored them? You left them to die?" "Ignored is the wrong word," Veltar replied. "Ignoring would mean we had emotions about their situation. We simply calculated their problem and decided that our resources would be better used elsewhere. This is how rational beings make decisions." The ambassador paused and seemed to study the humans on the bridge. "Yet here you are. Your species has barely learned to travel between stars, and you are attempting something that we, with all our advanced technology, decided was impossible." Over the following months, the human fleet met 6 more alien civilizations during their journey. Each encounter was different, but they all had one thing in common. The aliens were amazed and confused by what the humans were doing. Some of the aliens tried to convince the humans to turn back. A species called the Rigid Collective sent detailed warnings about the dangerous radiation around the dying star in the Kethara system. They showed the humans computer models of how the gravitational forces could tear their ships apart. "Your ships are not built for these conditions," their representative explained. "You will all die, and then no one will be saved." But the humans thanked them for the warnings and continued on their journey, working day and night to improve their ship designs and radiation shielding. Other aliens became curious about human behavior and began following the fleet from a safe distance. Their ships would appear on the human sensors, watching but not interfering. The most surprising encounter came from a group called the Zephyrian Collective. Unlike the others, they did not try to stop the humans or simply observe them. Instead, they offered help. Their captain, a being with multiple arms and silver skin, appeared on the communication screen with tears in its large eyes. "Your actions make no sense to our computers," the captain said, "but they make our hearts feel something we had forgotten long ago." The Zephyrians provided the human fleet with additional food, medical supplies, and spare parts for their ships. "We want to remember what it feels like to care about strangers," their captain explained. As the fleet entered the final year of their journey, the encounters with aliens had changed something in the human crew. They realized that their mission was about more than just saving the Kethara. It was about showing the galaxy a different way of thinking. Captain Hyejin Nam, commander of one of the rescue ships, gathered her crew in the main meeting room. Looking at their tired but determined faces, she spoke words that would be remembered for generations. "We are about to try something that every advanced civilization in the galaxy says is impossible," she told them. "They have better technology than us. They have more experience with space travel. They have superior knowledge of physics and engineering." She paused and smiled at her crew. "But we have something they seem to have lost. We have the belief that impossible just means no. One has tried hard enough yet." When the human fleet finally arrived at the Kethara system, the sight that greeted them was both beautiful and terrifying. The star that had once given life to this world had grown enormous, swelling to 3 times its normal size. Its red-orange surface bubbled and churned like boiling soup, sending waves of deadly radiation across the entire solar system. The inner planets had already been destroyed, their atmospheres stripped away by the expanding star. But the third planet still survived, though barely. Dr. So-Young Kim, the mission's expert on rocks and minerals, stared at her sensor readings in amazement. "Look at this," she whispered to her colleagues on the bridge. "The entire planet is covered in crystal formations. Those are not buildings made of crystal. Those are the Kethara themselves." Through their powerful telescopes, the humans could see massive crystal cities that caught the light from the dying star and threw it back in brilliant rainbow patterns. The cities were beautiful beyond imagination, like giant prisms that had grown from the ground itself. Within hours of arriving, the humans established contact with the planet below. The communication system crackled to life, and a deep musical voice filled the bridge. The translation computers worked quickly to turn the alien sounds into words humans could understand. "You came," the voice said, filled with wonder and disbelief. After so many years of waiting, someone actually came. On the main screen appeared an image of the being who was speaking. It was unlike anything the humans had imagined. The Kethara leader was a towering formation of living crystal, taller than a building, with inner light that pulsed like a slow heartbeat. The translation computer identified the being's name as something like Last Light Keeper. "We received your message," Admiral Cho replied. "We are here to help you evacuate your people." The crystal being's light dimmed slightly, and when it spoke again, its voice was filled with sadness. "We are grateful beyond words that you came, but we have calculated the capacity of your ships. You can only carry 2.3 million of our people to safety. We are 50 million. The bridge fell silent as the humans processed this information. They had traveled for 15 years and risked everything to get here, only to learn that they could only save a small fraction of the people who needed help. Commander Junwoo Bei, who was in charge of the evacuation operations, looked at his fellow officers and crew members. Their faces showed determination rather than defeat. "Then we will have to get creative," he said simply. What happened next became legendary throughout the galaxy. The humans refused to accept that they could only save some of the Kethara. Instead, they began the most ambitious rescue operation anyone had ever attempted. The Kethara shared their advanced technology with the humans, including the ability to grow crystal structures and fold space to make containers bigger inside than outside. The humans took this knowledge and used it in ways the Kethara had never imagined. Teams of human engineers flew out to the asteroid belt and began converting space rocks into giant transport ships. They used Kethara crystal growing techniques to hollow out asteroids and create living spaces inside them. Dr. Sung-Hoon Lee worked day and night to modify human life support systems so they could keep crystal beings alive during the long journey. Safety engineer Chan Mi designed modular living areas that could be quickly assembled from any available materials. The humans stripped their own ships of everything that was not absolutely necessary, removing furniture, decorations, and even some of the walls to create more space for refugees. Captain Myung-Soo Kang coordinated what grew into a fleet of over 400 makeshift rescue vessels. Some were converted asteroids, others were expanded human ships, and many were completely improvised from salvaged materials and Kethara technology. The alien observers who had followed the human fleet watched in disbelief. Ambassador Veltar's ship arrived just in time to witness the evacuation efforts. "This is impossible," Veltar transmitted to the human fleet. "Your species does not have the technology or resources to accomplish what you are attempting. Our computer models show that this cannot work." Pilot Haiwan Jung was exhausted from flying her 15th rescue mission of the day, ferrying crystal beings from the dying planet to the makeshift transport ships. When she heard Veltar's message, she was too tired to be polite. "Impossible just means we have not figured out how to do it yet," she replied over the radio. The rescue operation continued for months as the star grew larger and more dangerous. Human crews worked around the clock, often in conditions that should have killed them. The radiation levels were deadly. The gravitational forces were tearing their ships apart, and they were attempting engineering projects that had never been tried before. But somehow, it worked. As the star entered its final expansion phase and began to consume the planet's orbit, the last transport ship loaded with Kethara refugees cleared the edge of the solar system. The final count was almost unbelievable. 47 million crystalline beings had been evacuated to safety. Out of 50 million Kethara, only 3 million had been lost, and those were beings who chose to stay behind to help with the evacuation until the very end. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the impossible rescue was completed. The humans had not only saved the Kethara, they had saved almost all of them, using nothing but determination, creativity, and the absolute refusal to accept that some people could not be helped. 5 years had passed since the impossible rescue of the Kethara, and the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Earth was no longer just another small planet on the edge of known space. It had become the center of something completely new in galactic history. Ambassador Su Jin-yun walked through the beautiful crystal halls of New Kethara, the first world where humans and aliens lived together as equals. The walls around her were made of living crystal that glowed softly within a light, grown by the Kethara using their ancient techniques. But the designs were human, creating a blend of two very different cultures working together. Today was an important day. Representatives from 43 different alien species had gathered for a meeting of the Humanitarian Coalition, an organization that had never existed before humans showed the galaxy what was possible. "The Vorthan Empire wants to join our coalition," Ambassador Yoon announced to the assembled delegates. "They want to contribute ships and resources to the dying world's relief project." The announcement caused excited discussion throughout the hall. The Vorthan Empire was one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy, known for their cold logic and business-like approach to everything. 5 years ago, they had mocked humanity's decision to rescue the Kethara, calling it irrational and wasteful. Now the same Vorthan leaders were competing with other species to show how much they could help with rescue missions. They had even restructured their entire government around what they called the human paradox, the discovery that doing things that seemed illogical often worked better than following pure logic. Across the colony, Dr. Won Ho Nam was teaching at the Interspecies Rescue Academy, a school where beings from dozens of different worlds came to learn human methods of solving impossible problems. His students included rock creatures, gas-based life forms, and beings made of pure energy. Remember, he told his class, when faced with a problem that seems impossible, don't ask if it can be done. Ask how it can be done. There's always a way if you're willing to try hard enough. His students were eager to learn because the techniques worked. Just last month, they had successfully evacuated the methane worlds when toxic gas clouds threatened to destroy 3 different civilizations. Using improvised technology and creative thinking, they had saved over 1 billion lives. In the Coalition's main meeting hall, Last Lightkeeper, the ancient crystal being who had first greeted the human rescue fleet, served as the organization's chief philosopher. Its towering crystal form pulsed with gentle light as it spoke to the assembled delegates. "The galaxy has changed," Last Lightkeeper observed, its musical voice filling the hall. "Before humans arrived, we accepted that some tragedies could not be prevented. We calculated the costs and benefits, and we accepted that some people would have to die." The crystal being's light grew brighter as it continued. "Now we ask different questions. Instead of asking if we can afford to help, we ask, have we tried hard enough? Instead of accepting that some losses are inevitable, we look for new ways to save everyone." The changes were happening everywhere. Civilizations that had ignored distress calls for thousands of years now maintained rapid response rescue fleets. The phrase acceptable losses had become almost forbidden in galactic politics. Species that had been enemies for centuries began working together on rescue missions. The rigid collective, who had once warned the humans against attempting the Cathara rescue, now operated the largest medical rescue fleet in their sector. The Hegemony Coalition had converted half of their military ships into disaster relief vessels. On the outer edge of the galaxy, Captain In-Suk Park was patrolling in her ship, the newest and most advanced rescue vessel ever built. The ship was called Eternal Hope, and it represented everything the Coalition had learned about saving lives in impossible situations. Her crew was a mix of humans, Cathara, Vorthan, and 6 other species, all working together as a team. They had been patrolling the dangerous outer rim, looking for anyone who might need help. "Captain," called her communications officer, "we are receiving a distress signal from an unknown system. The message is very weak, but it appears to be from a species we have never encountered before." Captain Park looked at the data on her screen. The signal was coming from a solar system that was collapsing due to a black hole. According to their sensors, there were signs of intelligent life, but the situation looked hopeless. "Plot a course to their location," she ordered her mixed crew. "It looks like someone needs our help." Her Cathara navigator, whose crystal body sparkled with what humans had learned was the equivalent of a smile, began calculating the hyperspace jump coordinates. "Estimated arrival time, 14 standard days, Captain." "Do we know if this distress call was meant for us?" asked her human second in command. Captain Park grinned, remembering the words that had become famous throughout the galaxy. "Does it matter? Someone called for help, and we are going to answer." As their ship jumped into hyperspace and disappeared, from normal space, the signal they left behind was automatically picked up by monitoring stations across 3 different sectors of the galaxy. Within hours, ships from 12 different species were heading toward the same coordinates. All of them carried the same message: "Help is coming. Hold on." Humanity had taught the galaxy something that changed everything. Sometimes the most irrational choice is the most human choice. In a universe that had always been ruled by cold calculations and logical limitations, a little bit of human compassion had transformed everything. The impossible had become possible, and the galaxy would never be the same.